All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the AskWillandJosh show. My name is William Agnew. I just want to open this one up by explaining who our guest is today. This guy, I can tell you guys, I've known this guy for about probably about 8 years,
Something like
10
that.
years,
Yep,
probably going on 10 years. And I can tell you, I refer to this guy as the Godfather of cell phone repair.
Come on,
right?
now.
Don't be. You can be humble, but it is the reality. Like, this guy is probably the first guy I ever met who had his own location for his own business for cell phone repair. And this was back in, what year was that you started?
07.
Like 07.
07.
Right? And this was back when there was no cell phone repair.
Yeah.
In regards to everybody wanting to do it, what we've seen, the evolution we've seen, it's 2019, guys. We're talking about 2007, right?
Yeah.
So over 10 years of a lot of different stuff that we're going to be talking about today. And so, again, this is why I refer to this guy as the Godfather of cell phone repair, because he's one of the first guys that I actually saw taking a idea in this business, implementing and integrating that idea, and actually having a ton of success when it wasn't popular, when nobody was really asking for it, when he knew that there was potential there, and he went out and actually executed on that potential, and he saw the curve, right? He saw the curve coming, he jumped in, and he's capitalized a lot on experience, on a monetary gain, just anything anybody would want out of a career. This man has pretty much done. He's even worked with us for a while here at the Cellular Repair School. And so he's been on our team for a few of those years. He's since moved on, but we're trying to get him back, right? We're trying to get him back because he brings that much value. Plus, he's just a great guy. He aligns with our morals, our ethics, and our values. And so I'm introducing this man today. We're going to talk about a few things, and we're going to try to get in his head, get some of his experience, some of his knowledge out on this podcast. And so you guys can kind of see what his ideas are about this industry, where it's going, what it looks like, what it's potentially going to be. We kind of want to unwrap all of that. And so I'm going to go ahead. This is kind of an introduction, but I want this man to introduce himself also. So Lamont, glad to have you this morning.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. So let's just jump right in. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, cool. First of all, how's it going this morning, bro? How you doing this morning?
Well, you know, hard man, always working hard, taking
Yep.
care of the family and all that. On not that much sleep, but show don't stop. We roll all the time.
That's right. That's right. You know, success don't sleep, right? So
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? You try to chase these dreams and this money. You have to be working when other people are asleep a lot of times. So
Yeah.
that's the life of an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of entrepreneurship, I want you to talk a little bit about how you actually saw this curve that we talked about with cell phone repair, number one. And we know it's not just cell phone repair, but when you got into it, right, it was basically primarily cell phone repair, right?
Yeah,
that was the thing that you saw.
yeah.
You saw that that potential. Tell us a little bit about what you saw, how you saw it, and why you decided to get into it back in 2007.
All right. So at the time, actually, I wasn't in cell phone repair specifically, but I was in the industry. I was in marketing, as a matter of fact,
Right.
for Nokia.
Yeah.
Working for a company called Market Source. And my job was to travel around to all the cell phone stores and get them to buy and cover more Nokia devices.
Right.
But everywhere I went, every store I went to, whether it be a corporate store or these third-party dealers, a little kiosk inside the Asian supermarket, same
Right.
thing. They
Yeah.
was like, man, where can I get this phone fixed? Where can I get this phone fixed? And I was like,
Something here.
yeah. So I was like, here we go. There must be something here. And I'd always been looking for something to get into business-wise.
Right.
So I did my research, as you should, before you jump into anything.
Right.
And I just jumped in, like head first, feet first, whatever you want to call it, to start getting this money as cell phone repair. So I opened up a little shop. Actually, I opened up inside of a friend's place. So a friend of mine owned a Cricket store.
Right.
And I just went in. He had a huge space with extra space, so he let me use part of his back room or part of his front counter.
Right.
And I just started doing cell phone repair. So how it took off so well for me was,
Right.
since I was a Nokia rep at the time, I would go into any AT&T or Verizon store. They all knew me. Hey, Lamont, how's it going?
Right.
What's new with Nokia? I don't work for Nokia anymore. Oh, you don't? What do you do? Hit them with the car. Bam. I'm in cell phone repair. They're like, what? And now they're sending me customers like crazy.
Yeah.
Because you guys may not know this, but being in the cell phone repair, anybody who's been in it now knows the phones weren't made as well back then as they are now.
Right.
So they would always have the same failures: charging ports, trackballs on Blackberries, the cracked lens, the flip hinge on the old Razors, all that stuff.
Right.
That was big money, easy money back then. So before, you could open a shop for a few $1,000s, and the customers would come pouring in, and you're just fixing easy stuff, flex cables, hinges, and stuff like that.
So this was back like in 2007. So this was before
before the iPhone.
This was before the quote unquote smartphone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what the phones were like flip phones, the
Flip
plastic
phones, sliders, and candy bar phones is what they were known as back then.
So no screen replacements really.
No,
It was
not really.
what were the
It was
repairs
LCD.
like?
It was flex cables. It was LCDs. There's track balls. There's the lenses that was on them. The hinges on the on flip phones. So like I said, there's only 3 style phones back then. It was flip phone. There was a bar style phone. And there was the slider phone. We all loved the slider phones.
So let me ask you, what was making people even back then? Because phones, I guess it's all relative. So because back then, phones, based on what it was and the price, you could say that phones were expensive back then, right? Or were they more expensive back then? Or what was the thing? I guess what I'm asking is what
perception was different back then.
Yeah. So what made people want to get their phones repaired even back then before it was smartphones?
It was the shock of reality. So back then, you didn't have to. You would have to try to convince a customer to get their device fixed. And once they went back to the carrier, they realized how valuable that device was. You all remember back in the day, you get a phone for $0. All you had to do is pay the tax, $30-$40, and you got a phone. So that's the value in that customer's head is I have a $40-$50 phone. And then that phone breaks. They say, I'll just go back to the store and get a new one. They go to the store and get a new one. They're like, well, actually, you can't upgrade. If you want to buy a new one, it's going to be $300, which is a steal to us now. But back then, $300 phone was expensive.
So what do you think the difference is now in regards to how the plans work in the customer's mind? Because back then, customers much more educated now, right? So what do you see? I know we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I want to talk about that because you jumped in that space, and we really want to understand the mind of the customer because that is what creates the opportunity, right?
People don't.
Without the understanding the mind of the customer, is there any opportunity? And if you do that first, that's kind of what you did.
That is the first thing,
right? That's the market research you did. Is there demand here? Does anybody want this? Right? And this is what our audience is always asking because we hear this conversation all the time. So I'm just going to kind of jump into it right now. We hear this conversation all the time where guys who are in this business, even in this business today, different parts of this business, they go, it's dead, right? It's no longer there. I've
been hearing that for 5-6 years, maybe longer.
That this industry is dead.
The industry is dead, or
and why do people say that? Why do people say that? Like, why? Let's get into that. Why do people
the industry as you know it is dead? The way you got into it, throw a couple money at it, open up a store. Customers just come running in with no advertising by you.
Right.
You can be bad customer service and say whatever to whoever when they come in your shop, and you're still getting money because that was all that was there. But that's not the case anymore.
Right.
So now they look at it as now I have to open this business. I have to actually have a business plan.
Right.
I have to actually have working capital.
Right.
I have to actually really plot out each step in my business like you do with a real business anywhere else, by the way.
Yes.
And now they're saying that the industry is dead. It's just not as easy as it used to be.
So it's the evolution of... And what I like to see is too, because I know I've been in business for quite some time, not just the cell phone repair business, and I've seen businesses evolve. And what I'll say is when businesses evolve and they don't go away or die, and they get harder, they get better.
That's what's happening right
now.
now.
You know what I mean? And so that's the thing, because it drives that guy, right, who doesn't appreciate the hard work, the evolution of doing it right as opposed to doing it wrong. The guy who appreciates the customer's evolution of knowledge and then trying to fill that gap as opposed to taking advantage of that customer because that customer has no other choice. Does that make sense? And so if the way you can tell the weight or weight the industry is to go, well, is that industry still standing when the evolution happens?
And it is.
Actually, do you think, let me ask you this, do you think the industry today is better or worse, right? And I know it's a pack. I know that's a full question, right? That's a loaded question. It
is.
But because you've been around for quite some time. Again, you've been doing this for quite some time, so you know. And I want to go back and talk about your experience too, so people understand how much you've actually done. So don't forget to let me go back to that. Okay. But the question is right now is, do you think the industry is better? And it's just a blanket question, so I'm not. You tell me. Do you think the industry is better or do you think it's worse than it was when you started versus what it is today?
I think it's better, much better than it was before, especially in the eyes for the customer, right?
Yes.
We have much better quality of parts, much better quality of technicians and training. It's just better overall for everybody. Even the amount of money that you can demand for a repair is up, I believe, than it was before.
Right.
So before you maybe only charge, let's just say in labor costs, $40, $50 in labor costs, and that would be enough, and the customer didn't have the education that they have now, so their value in what you did back then was lower. Right. Now they know that device that they have is $900, $1,000. They know that their insurance deductible is $250, $300.
Right.
So you coming to them with $100, $150 a repair, they've already made that connection in their mind. You don't have to make it for them anymore. They definitely know.
They understand.
And you could say people who say that the industry is worse is like you were saying before. Yeah. Those are the guys who just wanted to get in and make a quick buck, and it was easy money with little effort for them.
Yes.
But now they actually have to try. Some new guy moves in across the street and completely kills them because their customer service is better. The store looks nicer.
Which is any business. Any business that's worth its salt is going to have that, right? You're going to have competition. You're going to have people wanting to jump in. You're going to have to change what we call your value, your added value to
value proposition.
Yeah, value proposition.
Back in the day, you didn't need to have that.
Right. Why not? Why didn't you have to have that back in the day? And you know better than anybody. Why not?
You didn't have to have that because it was new, it was fresh, it was the Wild West.
Yeah.
The customer didn't know the difference between X, Y, Z. You can say I have AAA rate iPhone screens and a guy down the street has B rate. They're just like, how much is it?
And it's still a lot of that in this space today. There's still a lot. As good as it is today, there's still a lot of customer ignorance that people take advantage of, and maybe
not like it was before.
It was before, and maybe it's like that in any industry. I mean, one thing like automotive industry, right? For example, I don't know what's going on under my hood, bro. Like I can't tell you. I lift it up. I know a couple. I know how to check my oil, right? I know how to see if my battery's dead, pretty much. But that stuff that goes really deep, even with YouTube being around, even with that, how deep do I really want to go, right? In trying to figure my car out. I don't really have a lot of time. And so what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to take it to a guy, right, who specializes in that.
Somebody you trust.
Somebody I trust, right? And that's my guy, right? That's what everybody says, my guy. I got a guy. That's my guy, right? You know what I mean? And that's all about trust. And so do you see parallels between that and this in today's market?
Absolutely. It's I see it going pretty much the same way as the automotive industry does.
Right.
And I talked to older gentlemen who were in the industry for a while, auto industry as a matter of fact, just to kind of get some insight comparing the parallels to our own.
Right.
And it was sort of the same thing. This goes much back farther, talking about the 40s, 50s at this point.
Right.
But it was the same way as an auto mechanic on every corner, and every guy fixed stuff in their front yard or whatever. But once the industry and the automakers jumped in on it, added some legitimacy to it, they require certain training. You can only get parts from a certain place. They educated the customer. Now the customer knows about this, so they're not just going to the guy anywhere else to get their stuff. Yeah. And not only that, I tell people about customer service all the time. I always say it's all good when it's all good.
Right.
But once it's all bad, that's the difference between good customer service and bad. So they love you when everything fixed right, but you have a problem, you go back to that store. That's when you know the value of that customer and of that store actually, and if they really believe in customer service like that. Right. And we can go round and round. There's a million different things we can talk about when it comes to cell phone repair and the industry itself. But I think that's like the biggest one when we're rolling back the value proposition. There's a lot of things you can say, your differentiator, what's your value proposition for what you do in the cell phone repair space. So maybe you're mobile, or maybe you have you do screen only, glass only repairs and stuff like that. Maybe you promise an hour turnaround, whatever, 1 year warranty. All that. It's cool, but it's a gimmick. What customers really, really want is great customer service. And what that really means is not just being nice to them when they come in. It's taking care of them when things go bad. So I've worked with companies and helped develop things with companies that really focus on that.
Which is a great segue, right? It's a perfect segue into your experience, right? So we've called you, I referred to you, right, as the Godfather, right? As the Godfather of cell phone repair.
I'm just one of the OGs. I'm not the OG.
You are definitely OG, bro. You're definitely OG. But what I want people to understand now is why do I actually refer to you as that? So talk about a little bit of your experience in this whole evolution. You've seen that from the bottom to the top. You've seen and top to the bottom, right? In whatever direction that flows in. But you've seen the good, the bad, the ugly of not only the corporate side, you've seen the entrepreneurial side,
Yes,
you've seen the solopreneur side. You know, you've seen all of it.
Production, everything.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. Just kind of give us the Reader's Digest of your experience.
It's going to have to do because it's long. So we already went over how I was in the retail space for a while.
Right.
And after the retail space, the mom and pops grew big enough to where a lot of the big box companies started taking notice and wanted to get a slice of the pie. And one of the biggest ones was Radio Shack.
Right.
Anybody from Radio Shack and all the master techs, I'm sure y'all already recognize me.
Right.
I was the head lead trainer for the whole nation on Radio Shack and helped roll out that program nationwide. And what I was specifically in charge of was training. And my experience from training came from working with you guys. As a matter of fact, the Cellular Repair School, we, you know, even when we go back before the Radio Shack thing.
We'll take that.
we was everywhere, all over the country.
Keep talking, Lamont. Keep talking.
All over the country training. We was outside of the country training people from
all
over the world. And we weren't just training people to turn screws. We were training people to actually open a business and be successful with it.
We were in St. Lucia,
you get Cuba, Aruba.
Yeah,
had people
all over the place.
Yeah, people from other countries coming in, and that was wild, and that was eye-opening as well.
Yes.
So my experience with that is what got me into Radio Shack and being their head trainer for a while. And I was there for about a year before the whole company pretty much went down, but that part of the company made a lot of money.
That's a good. Keep that where you are, your Radio Shack. And one thing I want to say really quickly about that, what Lamont was talking about, our experience, is that it really helped us understand how global. Right, it's not just that. A lot of people think it's just here. Right?
Oh yeah.
This is a global demand. This
everywhere.
is a global demand. Everybody has these devices, right? And everybody has the same problem, same issue, same wants, same needs, right? And we see it. As a matter of fact, what we see in the international markets is they're usually a couple of generations behind.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Right.
If you want to know your history, just go look at the cell phone industry in a smaller country. Exactly. They're usually a couple of years behind where we are now.
Right. All right. Cool. So, with that being said, Radio Shack.
Okay, so I was at Radio Shack for a while as the head for training and all of them. I went all over the country and every city, everywhere. I personally trained a few thousand people. I was responsible for training tens of thousands of people. So that was my first real corporate job. Right. Yeah. And the thing I'll say about the corporate job is, and I want to tell this to all you business people, all you entrepreneurs, all you dreamers out there.
Listen up, guys.
I've sat at the table in the room with all the so-called business geniuses, and really the only difference between me, between you out there, is that they just happen to be in a position to make their ideas a reality. That's it.
They had the resources, not resources, right?
But they were all in a place like us at one point, and they all tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed, and each try and each failure takes them higher and higher, and now they're in a place to basically take advantage of things on a higher level. Right. So don't think that because you don't have a lot of resources now, or you're not at the head of some company now, that you can't influence the world, because you definitely can. Right. And just listening to those people talk, they're just people. They're not, there are your Steve Jobs and your Michael Dells that are really special people. Right. Most of these are just regulars like you and me. Right. So I want you all to really understand that.
I ditto that. I've spent some time in corporate America, a few corporations. And I did all that. The majority of the people are just people just like you and me. So there's nothing to be to think that you can't achieve, because at the end of the day, and these people they learn. What they do is they educate themselves, just like you guys are doing now. And so a lot of times the differentiation is not your ability, it's how much you're willing to actually learn and then go execute whatever it is you learn. That's the differentiation.
Because to me, that's my X factor. That's my mutant power. Right. Is the ability to learn, to want to learn, and to never think that I know everything and I'm good where I am now. There's always more to learn. Exactly. There's a time in my life, especially when I was like 20, 21, I was like, I know everything I need to know. There's nothing else I need to know.
I think when I met you, you kind of were like
I definitely gotten to that point. But then you realize and you do certain things that, man, you know nothing. What does that say? You know nothing, Jon Snow.
They call it wisdom.
That's what that is. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Gray right here. That's the wisdom.
I'm getting a couple, but my wife always plucks mine out for me. So.
No dark and lovely going on.
Not yet.
All right, cool. So corporation.
So after the whole Radio Shack thing and when they went down, I transitioned over to another company. Me and actually a few of the guys from Radio Shack went over to another company. Radio Shack's a national brand, so I'll go ahead and name them. But this particular company, I'm not going to name them. They're more of a behind-the-scenes company. But they rolled out the training and whole platform for Staples, Office Max, and Office Depot to get them to start doing repairs in store as well. And that was I would call that a world tour, because I was in a different city every day.
You having fun?
Every night.
Was it fun? Oh, are you a traveling guy? I don't know if you
the first like month it was fun.
Cool. Yeah.
But I always tell people this story. Is the time I was coming out of my hotel.
Yeah.
And I was like, thought my car got stolen, because I swore I parked this red rental I had right here.
Right.
But it's not here.
Yeah.
Then I realized I was at the same hotel chain, but it's in a different city. And I was actually driving a blue car, and it was parked over there. And I was like,
that's when you realize, like, I got that traveling
too much. You know, it's why when you drive your own car, your own car feels foreign.
Yeah.
So I grabbed my steering wheel, like, man, this steering wheel's kind of thick, but this is my car, right? Not one of the rentals. I'm always driving from everywhere. Yeah. So that was a job I traveled a whole lot, and we were responsible for the training of, like I said, Staples, Office Max, Office Depot.
Right.
And they also did a little pilot with Sam's Club. Yeah. I wasn't really a part of that one. But it was just a whole lot of training, and even that was more on a corporate level, going to their corporate office and stuff and seeing these people really see the value in what it is that we're doing, and it started to legitimize the industry.
Right.
But at that point, too, now we're looking at where it's going to turn. This is 2014 or so. Everything's turning from being all mom and pop to a lot of franchises are really blowing up, because there's been some franchises that have been around for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
But even they'll tell you in the last 2 or 3 years is when they've seen the most growth in their business. Yeah. Because now it's being seen as a legitimate business for people to get into.
For sure.
And now you got the OEMs getting into it and everything. But anyway.
Yeah. So that's I mean, we could talk we could talk hours about what this industry has looked like over the past, I'll just say, just to give it 10 years, I would say this industry has evolved. And it's technology. So, technology moves really, really, really fast. For sure. Things come out, things change. That's it's the gift and the curse of this industry. There's a benefit to that, because it keeps competitively you on your toes. And so you got to be willing to rock with the changes, but at the same time, people don't really like change too much of that often. So I'll tell you this, guys, if you don't like change, and if you're not one of those people who gets excited about change and adapting to change, I can tell you right now, you might as well not even think about getting into this industry.
It's going to be a bad time.
It's going to be a bad time. But with that being said, if change and opportunity and evolution and dynamic is what excites you, then this is exactly where you want to be. Sir. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and plug Cellular Repair School right now. You want to be on this team, because we help you close that curve, because we do that. That's what we do. We're here. We're in it. We live this day to day. This is what we do. And this is where you want to be if you want to participate in here, because we're going to keep you guys up to speed on what's new, what's hot, even give you the access to what you need in terms of training, in terms of parts, in terms of resources, all of that stuff that you need to be successful in this business. We make it our business to provide you with that at a very low cost to you, so you can make those returns back in terms of profit and taking care of your families. So with that said, Mr. Lamont,
where'd I leave off?
You've been telling us a little bit about your history, so I think we understand that you are well vetted and diverse. Unless
we
there's something else
to the other stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna hold off on that stuff, because we know what we know is we're trying to get you back here at Cellular Repair School, because we know your value, and I think what you're doing today ties into what our plans for execution are with some of our goals and initiatives. And again, we always, as guys, we always people, at the people part of it, the cultural part of it, we've always aligned. But what I want to ask you now is, where do you think this industry is going? So based on where it is today.
Questions.
Yeah, it's tough questions. They're loaded questions, but no, there's nobody better to ask than a guy who's got your experience, your knowledge. You've touched a lot of different people who have a lot of different wants and from this industry, and not all being the same, right? And that's one thing I always try to tell people about this industry is it is not just cell phone repair by any means.
Yeah, there's a lot of different
things. There's a lot of different things that
there's cell phone repair, there's phone flipping, there's phone flipping, production lines, erasure, there's refurbishing, testing, QC, AQL.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot in this industry that people can capitalize on, which is another thing we actually teach people how to do. Where do you see it? Where do you see it going? I mean, it evolves fast. What do you see 3 to 5 years? Just cell phones in general. Where do you see the industry, and where do you see the repair industry and cell phones in general in the next 3 to 5 years?
So let's start with just what your average person is looking at from the repair street level, cell phone repair. What we're going to see now is, and we're already seeing that, is that the OEMs and the insurance companies are jumping in to make it a more affordable for themselves and for the customer. So when I say for themselves, we all know you pay $250 or whatever and you get your device replaced, but that's expensive for both the customer and the actual provider as well. So now they're like, well, maybe we can get them to keep their premium because that's where they make their money. Is if we can get them to pay a lower deductible and just replace their screen and keep their original device. So you see companies like Asurion are doing just screen replacements and stuff now, and certain companies are getting in bed with that on an early level. So one of the things is I see going is you're going to see a lot more of customers expecting to pay a deductible to have their screen replaced at an authorized place. So that's one of the places I would say if you're in the game is to try to get in on that and be one of the authorized places so you can get that, because as of right now the attach rate when we first got into the cell phone repair game on insurance was like 30%. Now it's like 80%.
Because it's making sense. I mean, if you just think about the fact, it's a couple of things, right? The prices of cell phones have gone through the roof. So people, and on top of what you said earlier, people are starting to really understand how much that cost is. It's not something, back in the day when your plan was tied to the cost of the device, you really didn't have based on your billing. So you didn't see what it was. But now when you go to do certain things or upgrade or whatever the case may be, you realize this phone is $1,200. The one that I want, $1,200, $1,500, right? Those type of things. So it is, again, the evolution and the knowledge of the consumer, right? It's starting to understand. I'll tell you another thing that we've really noticed is protecting your device, right? So screen protectors are selling at record numbers. Why is that? Because people are starting to understand that the device is a investment, so to speak, and they're starting to be educated on how to protect their investment, because there will come a time potentially where you might want to trade in that device, right? So the value of your device. They've all been
bitten by that by this point.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to protect your investment. It's an investment. I mean, these devices are. I remember when laptops and computers were the same price as these devices, right? Now they cost more. They cost more. So it makes sense that we see that type of play that you just mentioned starting to happen, where people, again, it's about where's the value, where's the incentive, what's in it for me, right?
Exactly.
And it's always that, and that's the differentiation. And again, I think that's why people are like, oh man, this business is dead. It's not that it's dead. The money doesn't. It's almost like electricity, right? Or energy. The energy doesn't die.
It doesn't dissipate.
It just transforms or transfers into something else. And you just have to be willing to understand what that transformation is, and then be willing and able to adapt to it.
See, that's the big one, because these companies are doing this warranty or insurance repair stuff. They're demanding a lot from the provider. So they say, okay, we want you to replace your screens, but you have to do it this way with these tools and use this part. And then you have to run a complete diagnostic on the device afterwards. You can't just fix it, hand it back to them, and then when they come back, be like, it was like that before. I don't know what you're talking about. You can't do that.
That's some accountability that has to happen for sure. And anytime anybody takes on the responsibility of compensation, right? Then they're going to put in some we got to have some checks and balances, bro.
And that's what they put in there. And they say, oh, it's too much of a hassle. We don't want to get in. We don't want to get under their thumb. We don't want to be Samsung certified. We want to be Google certified. Because, they make us jump through all these hoops to do these repairs. But that leads us to the next thing. What you get in exchange for that is something that all cell phone repairs struggle with: leads.
Leads, yes. They
all struggle with leads.
And we got, I'm rubbing my hands together right now for you guys listening to the podcast, because you can't see me rubbing my hands together, so I'm telling you. But I think that's that bone. That's a bone, right? Or a carrot, whatever you want to call it. So talk about it. What about the leads? What are you saying?
So your average customer is usually going to go back to where they got their phone from, either from the carrier or even the manufacturer of that device.
Right.
Now, what you're going to get is that bounce from the manufacturer or the carrier to your store.
Right.
And that's where the leads come from, because everyone knows right now they just kind of go out and hand out some flyers. They get their Google reviews or Yelp reviews. God forbid they go on Groupon or something like that and try to get customers. It's all about leads. That's all it is trying to get customers in and maybe getting some repeat customers. And I think that's one of the missing pieces, is people aren't as informed on how to get leads and how to maintain those leads once they get them. Because most people think, I'm going to hit this customer for this $100 this one time, and that's it. But I worked with a company that puts a dollar amount value on each company, each customer. Each customer is worth X amount of money over there in their sphere of influence, right? And they are willing to spend X amount of money to make that customer happy, which is a unique way of looking at things in this industry.
It is.
So, and
it's
even
a very
that all comes down to leads.
Very mature way. And I think it's the future.
Yeah.
And I think it's today and the future. I think, in the past, because again, it's understanding the value and understanding it and a foresight, like a visionary, where you really understand the value of the customer as opposed to the customer, even when the customer is not standing in front of you, versus just seeing the customer as that value that's standing in front of you, right? It's that appreciation. It's the relationship, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
like
honesty.
A friendship, right? The honesty. You know what I
see
mean?
it where they completely ruin the customer's device.
Yes.
And say, we ruined your device.
Right.
We're going to replace that device,
Right.
and you won't have to pay the repair fee.
Right.
All we need you to do is obviously change your review or something like that. And they're like, great. And then that customer comes back with their daughter's phone this time.
Yeah.
And after, even though you've lost money, and I'm throwing up air quotes for those you can't see it, you're going to gain on the backside by taking care of your customer.
Right.
And most people just don't, really treat them like how you want to treat.
Yeah.
If you went somewhere, someone makes a mistake, everyone makes mistakes. You just want them to be honest and admit to it and fix it. That's all.
And the thing about leads, right? What we've been in this business for over 10 years, right? We've taught people how to do cell phone repair for over 10 years. We've taught people where to get resources from over 10 years. We've taught people everything there is to teach people about this business. You know what people still struggle with from day one till now? It's generating business, generating leads. It's getting leads. It's marketing. It's how do I get people in the door?
Yeah,
I'm ready to go. I got stuff on the shelf. I got my technicians ready to go. I got my systems set up. I got everything ready to go. And there's nobody walking through the door.
Yeah,
right?
people don't understand about the whole leads generation thing too.
Yeah.
And cell phone repair, we can't help them if their phone isn't broken.
Right.
So what you're really fighting for besides the leads and marketing is mind share. We talked about that before.
Yes.
When they do need your services,
who are they going to choose?
Yeah, they want you to be at the top of their mind.
Exactly.
So they might not have a broken device for 6 months or so, but you want them to think of you when that happens.
Exactly.
And that is another form of lead generation. All comes down to that.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that. As a matter of fact, we got some business to discuss after this podcast because just to let you guys know, Mr. Lamont is consulting right now, and so if you want his services, is there anything you want to share about your business ventures right now? What you're doing?
My consulting thing is almost completely word of mouth. Okay. Someone refers me, or we've crossed paths somewhere.
Right.
I've trained and done teachings at other places, so they see that and see my basically my background. Are like, I want to get involved with you in some kind of way, but obviously don't want to give you half my business to do it. So how can we work?
And see, I don't know how smart or dumb it is for me to have him on the show because we're trying to get him to work with us also. And so with all of this information that he's divulging about his experience and his expertise, then I know all I'm doing is setting up my, I'm setting up the leverage game where it's like, all right, the platform is what it is. But you know what? I'm one of those believers in you share the information.
Yeah.
You treat people the right way. And that's just one of the morals we have here at, we enrich, right? And we teach and we do all of those things. And if it's supposed to be, it will be, right? And if it comes to us, it comes to us. As long as we stay on the right path and we do it for the right reasons, and we share and we educate, then I really believe the energy will bring it all to us and it'll be what it's supposed to be. So I don't really look at it, that way. I'm joking. I don't really look at it that way. I just, and I think that's what it is. And so Lamont, with that being said, I know we're running, Cynthia, how much time have we been? 33? All right, that's perfect. 40 is what 40 is typically so we're right on time. Okay, so with that being said, Mr. Lamont, I want to thank you for joining us today, man. It was a great conversation.
No problem. We might have to do this again.
We
only did a little bit.
We only did a little bit. I got to have you back. And when I get you on the team, which I will get you on the team, then we'll be doing this quite often, right? And Lamont is, he's skilled in those streets. He knows those streets. And really, I need Lamont in those streets, right?
They call me Stringer Bell. For y'all
I want you in those streets, brother. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope this was very informative to you. Hope it was very informational and informative and transformative. We always try to bring you the most in the information. We try to bring you the best in the industry. With that being said, this is the AskWillandJosh show. This is William Agnew.
Lamont Ward.
Thank you for being with us, Lamont Ward. And we're going to see you guys on the next one. All right?